Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1329, written by Black Kirim 14. Did I see my future self on the tram? I'm not sure if I'm imagining things or if I'm going crazy, but I believe I just saw my future. I mean, I always wondered if people have their future self walking around in the present, and I sometimes wondered if my future self is around too. But I think I should tell you the story now. I was just on my way home from work. I'm currently doing an apprenticeship as a metal worker. Due to some unlucky circumstances, I missed my tram and had to take the later one. When I took the next tram, I took a seat near the door, noticing a man on the opposite side of the door. I didn't pay him much attention at first, but then I noticed something. On his workwear, I could read the first initial of his first name and his full last name. That was when I realized that he had the same last name as me, while his first name also started with the same initial as my first name. After realizing that, I took a more exact look at him, and he did look quite similar to me. He had the same hair and eye color, and a similar if not the same hairstyle that I normally have. My hair is currently longer, but normally I have it rather short. And even his face did look kinda similar to mine. The only real difference was that he was a bit thinner than I currently am. Of course, he was a bit older, but still, the physical similarities were there. And since I already mentioned his workwear, he was wearing blue overalls looking similar to the one I was wearing, although I was wearing black overalls. But it was the same workwear which you would expect a metal worker to wear at work. It didn't stop there though. He was apparently working for a craftsman company that also seemed to have a focus on electrical engineering. This also caused me to believe that this man could be my future self, simply because I was planning on investing 2 more years at my local Academy of Technology in order to become a state-certified technician. And while I'm currently working on becoming a metalworker, I'm also open to becoming an electrical engineer, especially if my salary is higher then. The man apparently even lives in a part of my town where I always wanted to live due to close proximity to our local botanical garden. So yeah, I'm not sure if my mind is playing tricks on me, or if I'm going crazy, or if I actually saw my future self. But I definitely wanted to share my story. Case notes for file 1329. Did I see my future self on the tram? You're not crazy, but I also don't think this was your future self. I think this was a deliberate alignment by your guardian angel that wanted you to have a glimpse of the whereabouts your current life trajectory would take you on by navigating you closer to someone that was very similar to you, but not you. I think this is important for all of us, to have a glimpse at that domino path that we're on right now. Where is it going to lead? We can always divert it. It's like we're on a train where we're the conductor that can alter the track we're on. But if you don't know where the track leads, it's very hard to make an informed decision. So I think guardian angels sometimes try to inform us. Subtly. And sometimes not so subtle, as in this case. Case file number 1330, written by Merc123, The Mysterious Slapping Boards. Friends and I went hunting and camping away from home. We have made this trip annually and sometimes twice for the last 9+ years. In the last year, we finally moved spots about a few miles down the road from our original one. To set the stage, I'm a 2-times war vet, so I sleep fast and hard. I slept through rocket attacks, and my wife questions if I'm alive sometimes. We are sleeping in a soft-sided pop-up camper. At about 3 a.m., I'm woken up out of a dead sleep by a noise that sounds like 2 2x4 boards being slapped together. Every 5 to 10 seconds, it does it. One time, except it's moving. It's loud and I can hear the echo off the trees. This goes on for minutes, and it moves from my right side to my left side and eventually further off in the distance, almost following the river we are camped near. No one else is awake or heard it. The next day, we talk about it and they think I'm crazy. That next night though, I got my laughs. Again, woken up out of a dead sleep by this thing. This time, everyone wakes up. The same exact sound. The tone, the pitch, loudness never changes until it moves away and then it slowly gets softer, but the sound is exactly the same every time. It only happened 2 of the 3 nights we were there. I Google and find stories from birds to Bigfoot. It became a running joke. Well, the next year we head back down to it again. This time we camped about a quarter mile up from the other campsite by the river. I ended up having to leave early, but asked when they got back if they heard it. They did, but only one night out of 4. Case notes for file 1330. The mysterious slapping boards. It's very odd indeed and eerie. Some kind of intelligent animal, banging on flat branches together? I don't think it's Bigfoot exactly, but then who really knows what's out there? If you go camping, go prepared with items to defend yourself, because things do indeed go bump in the night, out in those deep woods. You don't want to be unprepared. Case file number 1331, written by Anonymous, The Scream That Stalked My Soul. I was 16 and living in a rural area between New York State and Pennsylvania, on the New York side. I knew a girl who lived out in the boonies on the Pennsylvania side, 3 or 4 miles away at that, and she wanted me to sneak into her room that night. Me, being the horny teenager that I was, ventured out on foot. She lived on the hill with a dirt road, and you had to walk up said dirt road through a heavily wooded area. On the way up, you can see significantly better than on the way down because of how the end of the woods faces the direction of the moon at night. Walking to her place went without a hitch. It was in the early morning that I began walking home, through the pitch dark woods. Thus, that's where the trouble began. The stretch of heavily wooded area went on for a mile or so. At the end of it is a clearing with a light attached to someone's shed nearby. I was walking on this barely visible road when I heard a rustling, which is normal when you're out in the woods at night. I wasn't alarmed at the rustling, but more so at the fact that I heard something getting closer to me, and it began screaming. Soon enough, this blood-curdling screeching was right next to my left ear. I was terrified and couldn't bring myself to stop or look to the side. I could only keep a steady pace and push on. I remember thinking that I just had to keep moving. Eventually, the screaming was directly behind me, and then shortly after, far away behind me. I never once looked back. As soon as I got the light that signaled the clearing, I ran all the way back home. I never really gave much thought to it in the following years, except for a story that I heard around the campfires. Some suggested it was a fox in heat, and I considered the explanation to make a fair amount of sense. However, one night I was browsing some local legends and ghost stories on the internet when I found a legend for the area that I walked through. Many people have reported hearing screaming when walking through that area, the story said, and many reported these things happening particularly in the woods. So I did what any sane person would do and called that my signal that I had enough of the internet for that night and went to bed just a little more nervous than usual. Case notes for file 1331. The Scream That Stalked My Soul. No one sane can knock you for being creeped out by this. Foxes make freaky mating sounds, like a scream, like a chilling scream that someone's in trouble. And that could indeed be it. A larger than typical fox population in that stretch of woods, so people report the fox mating call more often than usual. That said, is anyone going to go check? I wouldn't. What if it's a banshee or even worse? Anyways, I'll link a video below on the mating call sounds of foxes. Really is disturbing, but it's good to know it, just in case you hear something exactly like that. You know, okay, it's not a banshee, it's just foxes. Nature is weird. And now time for the quote of the day. Behold the turtle. He makes progress only when he sticks his neck out. James Bryan Conant. And as they also say, the turtle wins the race. Eventually. The very, very long-term race. You do have to stick your neck out here and there, don't you? Unless you're happy with a quiet life. For better or worse, you have to ask yourself what you want from life. It really is the ultimate question. Not the meaning of life. The meaning of your life. What is it? I can tell you the meaning of my life. My life's meaning is peace, good food, a beautiful view, a crackling fire by an open fireplace, while snow is gently falling outside, cuddle up on the couch with a warm hot chocolate, and eventually some kids to share it with, and of course, a loving wife. I think Dave is afraid he's going to be left out, but I'm always going to bring you along, Dave. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.